Episode 284, Act of Kindness. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me. Hope you're doing okay. As I record this, we're still in the great pandemic of 2020. So, I hope you're looking after yourself and you're taking all the necessary precautions, wearing a mask when you should, and sterilising your hands. I hope in the future we'll look back at this and go, do you remember back in 2020? Anyhow, this is I just want to talk a little bit about it's called Act of Kindness, this podcast, and it sort of came about. I was on Twitter and I follow somebody who, if I'm honest, I don't know who they are. They've got a little tick, and I do look at the information about them and sort of get a gist of who they are. If they're a nutter, generally speaking, I don't follow them, But they were quite, shall we say, I don't want to say celebrity, but basically they had quite a few followers, and they had a bit of a, shall we say, a psychological angle, So anyhow, they like a lot of I don't know what you call them, the influencers. I probably sound so stupid, don't I? In the scheme of things, I mean, just as an aside, I'll do these podcasts anyway, regardless of publicity or promotion or maybe the fact that nobody listens to them. I'm still going to keep doing them, So a lot of this stuff on the old the Twitter world and the other platforms is I'm not saying it's alien to me, because I do get the influencer thing. I do get people who have thousands and thousands or millions and millions of followers. Not quite sure some of them deserve that, but I mean, that's not what it's all about, is it? So I won't take my hat off to them. Fair play to them. They've got a lot of people listening to them, even if they have very little to say. Well, I have lots to say, so there you go. So I ended up following somebody on Twitter. I'm not quite sure how. Maybe they liked one of my tweets, or maybe I liked one of their tweets. I don't know, but I ended up following them, and they were like, I think a sort of a celebrity psychologist. So, basically, I ended up following this. I don't know if the psychologist is the right phrase for it, but he had a little blue tick, so you always think that's a good thing. Though I'm amazed how some people don't have the blue tick of verification and some do on Twitter. But anyhow, and the question was something like, what was have you ever had like an act of kindness to you that you've never forgotten? I think that essentially, someone's been kind to you and you've never forgotten about it. What was the event sort of thing. So, well, I did have something actually, interestingly enough. I mean, a lot of the questions you get online, I'm not going to even bother with, but that was quite an interesting one. So I did. So I did have I don't know what you'd call it, spontaneous, not requiring anything back type of act of kindness towards me, towards my family. So it's quite an interesting story anyway. So yes, the question was, have you ever had, been shown some kindness that you've never forgotten? So I have, and it actually goes back to the 1980s. I was trying to think of the exact year. It would have been the late 80s. So I'm guessing it was after 87, before 92. So I'm guessing maybe 89, 1989 around that time, which I would have been, I suppose I wasn't a bad age, about 18 in 1989, so I hope that doesn't give me age away. But basically the situation was, at that time in the late 80s, I was living with my dad and brother. My brother was 3 years older than me, my dad was 30 years older than me. At that time I would have been in college, and I flunked everything in college, but that's for a different podcast. But so I remember this particular Christmas, I I think we were out shopping actually. I seem to remember we were going to the supermarket. It's quite interesting. The supermarket where we was going to that I think I can remember from all that time ago. It doesn't exist anymore. It's now a housing estate. So maybe there's more money in a housing estate. So yeah, there must have been maybe because I mean it was mostly car park with a little supermarket, but the supermarket's gone now. But anyhow, it was run up to Christmas. It would have been December. It was probably very cold. It was in a town called Huddersfield. If you've heard of it, well, that's great. If you haven't, it's all right as well. It's the other side of the Pennines. So if you're in England, if you find yourselves in northern England, a lot of people have heard of Liverpool because of the Beatles. A lot have heard of Manchester because I think they've got a football team of the L2. And then you go over what's called the Pennines, a few hills, and then you get to Huddersfield anyway. It's quite a big town. I'm not sure what it's like now. I haven't been there many, many years. But anyhow, I was living in Huddersfield and going to the supermarket, I think, to shop. I had a car, so we was probably driving maybe. Anyhow, the next door neighbour was an Iranian guy. He was a teacher. And he was married to an English woman who was also a teacher. I'm assuming maybe that's how they got together, they were teachers. But he was Iranian, really nice fella. Quite quiet spoken, a very gentle sort of guy. And he seemed really nice, we had fairly, we said hello and they knew a bit about us, knew a bit about them, and we chatted, and it was nice, They were nice neighbours. I think we were nice neighbours as well. I remember I used to cut the grass. I haven't cut the grass in years now, but I remember cutting the grass. That's always good, isn't it? I always please the neighbours. But anyhow, this particular day, got out the car, going into the supermarket. It was around Christmas time, and he was there, the neighbour. I think he was on his own. I don't remember. I don't think his wife was there. And I don't know. He came up to us and wished us a Merry Christmas, and he shook my dad's hand and said, have a good Christmas, and all the rest of it, and walked off, and we were standing there, and I still remember. And bear in mind, it's 1989, which is, I don't know what that is in real money. Is that 30 odd years ago now? Is it? 1990 is 30 years ago, isn't it? So 31 years ago. I remember my dad turning around, and he had a bit of a stunned expression on his face, because he had his hand in front of him that he'd shook, the neighbour's hand with, and it was a little square, maybe half an inch square paper, folded up, So he shook the hand of our Iranian neighbour, and he might have gone off, walked off, whatever. And my dad's saying, "Oh, there's a bit of paper folded up, and he unfolds it, and it's a £10 note. It basically giving us £10, Now, I suppose in today's money that doesn't sound a lot, and it wasn't a huge sum back in 1989 either. But they obviously knew we were struggling. I was in college. I think my brother wasn't working at the time. My dad was working, and times were really tough. We didn't go around telling all the neighbours. We didn't have much money. But he obviously knew, and it was an act of kindness, and it's one of those things that stick in your mind, He knew that we had nothing, and he gave us money in the most subtle, nicest possible ways, and he didn't have to, but it's an act of kindness that I remember to this day, 31 years later.